Hey guys, welcome back to The Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled people story. It all started about 8 months ago when my roommate situation went from inconvenient to absolutely unbearable. I'd been living with this guy, let's call him Tyler, for almost a year after my previous roommate moved out to live with his girlfriend. Tyler seemed okay at first. He paid rent on time, kept the common areas reasonably clean, and we generally stayed out of each other's way. He wasn't exactly friend material, but as roommates go, he seemed fine. I work as an IT security specialist for a mid-sized company, which means I work long hours sometimes and have to be on call occasionally. It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays well, and I actually enjoy what I do. I'm not exactly swimming in money, but I live comfortably and can afford some nice things now and then. Tyler, on the other hand, worked at some startup doing marketing or sales or something. He was constantly talking about how his company was going to revolutionize the industry and how he'd be making six figures soon. The classic startup guy talk. In reality, though, he always seemed to be struggling with money. He'd ask to borrow $20 here and there, promising to pay me back on payday, which sometimes happened and sometimes didn't. Things started to change when his company began having financial problems. He came home one day looking stressed, mentioning they'd missed payroll and were cutting back hours. I felt bad for him, but it wasn't really my problem. I even offered to cover his part of the utilities that month to help out. Looking back, that was probably my first mistake, showing him I was willing to help financially. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small things going missing from the apartment. At first, it was just stuff from the common areas. A portable Bluetooth speaker disappeared from the living room, then some kitchen gadgets I rarely used. I didn't think much of it. Maybe Tyler had moved them, or maybe I'd misplaced them myself. It happens. Then one day, I came home from a long shift to find my PlayStation 5 missing from the entertainment center. That was definitely not something I would have misplaced. I texted Tyler immediately. "Hey, did you move my PS5 somewhere?" I wrote. His response was quick. "Oh yeah, sorry man. My cousin came over and I let him borrow it. He'll bring it back next week." I was annoyed, but let it slide. He should have asked first, but at least I knew where it was. Or so I thought. A week passed, then two, and no PS5. Every time I asked Tyler about it, he had some excuse about his cousin being busy or forgetting to bring it back. By the third week, I was getting seriously annoyed. "Listen," I told him one morning as he was heading out, "I need my PlayStation back. Today. Tell your cousin to drop it off or I'll go pick it up myself." Tyler looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, about that he kinda broke it, but don't worry, I'll replace it as soon as I get my bonus next month." I was furious. "That's a $500 console. Your cousin can't just break it and you think it's okay to tell me weeks later? I want the money for it now, not next month. Dude, I don't have $500 right now. I told you the company's having issues. Just chill, I'll get it to you." I didn't believe him for a second, but what could I do? I couldn't force him to give me money he claimed not to have. I decided to keep a closer eye on my belongings from then on. That weekend, while Tyler was supposedly at a friend's place, I did something I probably should have done earlier. I checked his room. I know, invasion of privacy and all that, but something wasn't adding up, and I had a bad feeling. His room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, empty food containers, the works. Nothing suspicious at first glance. But then I noticed his laptop open on his bed. The screen was on, showing his eBay account. And there, in his recently sold items, was my PS5, sold 3 weeks ago for $450. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. This asshole hadn't lent it to his cousin, he'd straight up stolen it and sold it online. I scrolled through his selling history and my blood ran cold. There was the Bluetooth speaker, there were my kitchen gadgets, there was even my old Nikon camera I thought I'd misplaced during a move, all sold over the past month. I took photos of everything on my phone as evidence. Then I noticed something else. He had active listings for more of my stuff. My heart nearly stopped when I saw my collection of vintage comic books up for auction. Those were in my closet in my room. He'd been going through my things when I wasn't home. I quietly left his room and checked my closet. Sure enough, the box with my comic collection was gone. Those comics had belonged to my dad. They weren't even particularly valuable, but they had huge sentimental value to me. That was it. The final straw. I wasn't just going to confront him. I was going to destroy him. I sat down and made a plan. Tyler had crossed a line and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. But I needed to be smart about this. Getting into a physical confrontation or destroying his property wouldn't solve anything and could get me in legal trouble. No, I needed something more elegant. First, I changed all my passwords and installed a new deadbolt on my bedroom door that afternoon. Then I set up a small security camera in my room, hidden on my bookshelf. If he was going to steal from me again, I'd have it on video. When Tyler came home that night, he noticed the new lock on my door right away. "What's with the lock?" he asked casually, as if he hadn't been stealing from me for weeks. Just being careful, I replied. Some things have gone missing lately. He shrugged. Whatever, man. Seems paranoid, but it's your room. I didn't confront him about what I'd found. Not yet. I wanted more evidence, and I was working on a plan that would hit him where it really hurt. Over the next few days, I did some digging into Tyler's online presence. He wasn't particularly tech-savvy and used the same password for practically everything. I didn't hack anything. He'd actually written his main password on a sticky note next to his desk. Classic security fail. I discovered he wasn't just selling my stuff on eBay. He was also selling other items that I was pretty sure he didn't own legitimately. There were expensive electronics, designer clothes with tags still on them, and even some jewelry. Either Tyler had a secret fortune he wasn't telling me about, or he was stealing from other people too. I also found something else interesting. Tyler had been lying about his job. The startup he claimed to work for had actually gone under 2 months ago. He'd been unemployed this whole time, which explained the money issues, but he was still leaving the apartment every day, dressed for work. Where was he going? The answer came when I checked his bank statements. Again, his password was ridiculously easy to guess. He'd been taking out cash advances on his credit cards and gambling at a local casino. His debt was astronomical, over $30,000 across multiple cards, all maxed out. No wonder he was stealing my stuff. He was desperate. I sat on this information for a couple of days trying to decide what to do. I could call the police, but without solid proof that he'd stolen specific items, it might just be my word against his. Plus, I still had to live with him until one of us moved out. Then I had an idea. One that would not only get me justice, but also potentially solve my financial situation with the apartment. The first phase of my plan was simple. Documentation. I took inventory of everything valuable I owned, with photos, serial numbers when available, and approximate values. I moved the truly irreplaceable stuff to a friend's place for safekeeping. Then I set my trap. I left my tablet accidentally visible on my bed when I left for work, but I'd installed tracking software on it. The screen showed my Amazon account open, with a saved credit card prominently displayed. The tablet itself was cheap. I'd bought it on sale years ago, but what mattered was the credit card information and the tracking software. Sure enough, when I checked the tracking that evening, I could see the tablet had been moved. Tyler had taken the bait. I waited patiently to see if he'd use the credit card information. Within 2 days, there were unauthorized charges on my Amazon account. Jackpot. I now had definitive proof of theft and attempted credit card fraud. I reported the fraud to Amazon and my card company, but asked them not to pursue it yet. I needed the evidence for later. I decided it was time for the confrontation. I waited until Tyler was home, then called a friend to come over as a witness. When they arrived, I sat Tyler down in the living room. "We need to talk about the stuff you've been stealing from me and selling online," I said calmly. His face went pale, but he quickly recovered. "What are you talking about? I haven't stolen anything." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd taken of his eBay listings. My PS.5 comma, my speaker, my camera, my dad's comic books, all listed from your account, all sold in the last month. "You went through my computer? That's invasion of privacy," he sputtered, trying to turn it around on me. "Yes, I did, after you stole hundreds of dollars worth of my property, and that's not all. I know you used my tablet to get my credit card information and made purchases on Amazon." He was cornered and he knew it. His face twisted with anger. "So what? What are you going to do about it? It's your word against mine." I smiled. "Actually, it's not. I have the eBay listings, the Amazon fraud report, and video of you entering my room and taking things. I've filed a police report, and they're very interested in talking to you." That last part was a bluff. I hadn't gone to the police yet, but Tyler didn't know that. His demeanor changed instantly. "Listen, man, I've been going through a tough time. I lost my job. I've got gambling debts. I was desperate. I'm sorry. I'll pay you back for everything." "With what money? You're broke, your credit cards are maxed out, and you don't have a job." His eyes widened. "How do you know about my credit cards?" "The same way I know you spend your days at the Golden Gate Casino instead of at work." I did my research. Tyler slumped back in his chair, defeated. "What do you want from me?" This was where phase 2 of my plan kicked in. "I want you to move out, immediately. Sign over your part of the lease to me. And I want you to pay me back for everything you stole." "I told you, I don't have any money." "Then you'll have to find another way to pay me back. I hear the casino's always hiring. Or maybe your parents can help. Either way, it's not my problem." He argued, threatened, and even begged, but in the end, he knew I had him cornered. With my friend as a witness, he signed a document I'd prepared transferring his part of the lease to me. He agreed to pay me back $2,000 for the stolen items at $200 per month for the next 10 months. I'll have my stuff out by the weekend, he muttered as he signed the agreement. No, you'll have your stuff out by tomorrow night, and I'll be supervising to make sure nothing else of mine mysteriously disappears. The next day, Tyler packed up his things while I watched. He didn't have much, mainly clothes, his laptop, and a few personal items. As he was about to leave, he turned to me. You know, you didn't have to be such a dick about this. I said I was sorry. Sorry doesn't replace the comic books that belonged to my dad, which you sold for $50. Get out. After he left, I changed the locks and celebrated with a beer. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. The real revenge was just beginning. A few days after Tyler moved out, I received a call from an unknown number. It was someone from the casino where Tyler gambled, asking for him. He doesn't live here anymore, I explained. Is there a message I can pass along if I see him? The caller hesitated, then said, It's regarding his application. We need some additional information. That's when I realized Tyler had applied for a job at the casino, the same casino where he had gambling debts. I almost laughed out loud. Oh, I see. You know, I feel like I should tell you something about Tyler. I didn't outright lie. I simply mentioned that Tyler had recently had some ethical lapses involving other people's property and money, and that I'd had to ask him to leave our shared apartment because of it. I suggested they might want to run a thorough background check before hiring him. The casino, unsurprisingly, did not call Tyler back for a second interview. Next, I found out where Tyler was staying, with his parents, as it turned out. I sent them a polite, seemingly concerned email detailing my worries about their son's gambling problem and the lengths he'd gone to feed his addiction, including stealing from his roommate. I attached screenshots of his eBay listings of my items as proof. I wasn't just being petty. Tyler owed me money, and I wanted to make sure his parents knew exactly why he might be asking them for cash in the coming months. Plus, if they were decent people, they'd want to know their son needed help. Then I took things a step further. Using the information I had gathered about his online accounts, I set up alerts to notify me whenever Tyler created new listings on eBay or other selling platforms. If he tried to sell more stolen goods, I'd know about it. I also contacted the people who had bought my stolen items on eBay. I explained the situation and asked if they'd be willing to return the items for a refund. Most ignored me, but one person who had bought my Nikon camera actually agreed to sell it back to me. I had to pay more than Tyler had sold it for, but at least I got it back. About a month later, I got my first alert. Tyler had listed some high-end headphones on eBay. The brand and model matched those belonging to a mutual acquaintance of ours. I reached out to this person, confirmed the headphones were missing, and helped them file a police report with the evidence I had gathered. This time, Tyler couldn't talk his way out of it. He was charged with theft and was facing potential jail time. His parents bailed him out, but they were furious. They forced him into gambling addiction counseling and cut off his access to their money. Meanwhile, I had taken over our old apartment completely. Without having to worry about Tyler stealing my stuff, I was able to focus on my career. I got a promotion at work, which came with a nice salary bump. I was finally able to replace the things Tyler had stolen that I couldn't recover. The monthly payments from Tyler started coming in too. I suspect his parents were the ones actually sending the money, but I didn't care. Each payment was a reminder that actions have consequences. But the best part? Tyler's old startup, the one that had supposedly failed? It hadn't actually gone under completely. They'd downsized dramatically, but after securing new funding, they were making a comeback. And guess who they reached out to about rejoining the team? That's right, me, not Tyler. You see, in my research on Tyler, I'd found out that he'd been fired from the startup, not because of company financial issues, but because of his poor performance and attendance problems. The gambling had already been affecting his work. The startup needed someone with IT security expertise for their new phase, and my name had come up in their search. I hadn't planned this part, but it was a delicious coincidence. I accepted their offer, which came with stock options and an even better salary than my recent promotion. When Tyler found out I was working for his former company, he was livid. He tried to contact them to badmouth me, but his former bosses had already experienced his unreliability firsthand. His attempts to sabotage me only made him look worse. 6 months after he moved out, I received the final payment from Tyler. I could have kept the revenge going, kept making his life difficult in small ways, but I realized I didn't need to. His own actions had led to his downfall. He'd lost his apartment, his job prospects, his parents' trust, and nearly his freedom, all because he'd chosen to steal from me instead of asking for help or facing his gambling addiction honestly. As for me, I'm doing better than ever. The apartment is peaceful without Tyler's drama. My career is thriving at the startup, and I've become much more careful about who I allow into my life. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else, it's about building yourself up while they self-destruct. Tyler thought he could take advantage of me, but in the end, I took over the life he could have had if he'd made better choices. I did teach him a lesson, and I definitely came out on top. But the most satisfying part? I didn't have to do anything illegal or even particularly vindictive to get my revenge. I just had to expose the truth and let the consequences unfold naturally. The comic books, though, I never got those back. Some things can't be replaced, which is why I don't feel even a twinge of guilt about how things turned out. Tyler made his choices, and now he's living with them, while I'm living the life he could have had. Last I heard, he's working a minimum wage job and still living with his parents at 30. Meanwhile, I just got another promotion and am looking into buying my own place. Funny how life works out, isn't it? Asterisk, asterisk. Update. 6 months later. Asterisk, asterisk. A lot has happened since I last posted about my thieving roommate Tyler and how I turned the tables on him. I've gotten tons of messages asking for an update, so here it is. First, some unexpected news. Tyler's parents reached out to me about 3 months ago. They wanted to meet in person to discuss their son. I was hesitant at first, worried they might be angry or looking to cause trouble, but curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop. Tyler's parents turned out to be genuinely nice people who were heartbroken about their son's behavior. They apologized profusely for what he'd done to me and explained that Tyler had been diagnosed with a gambling addiction and was now in an intensive treatment program. They didn't make excuses for him, which I respected. Here's the kicker. They had found my dad's comic books in Tyler's old bedroom at their house. Apparently, he hadn't sold them after all. Maybe he recognized their sentimental value, or perhaps he just hadn't gotten around to listing them yet. Either way, his parents returned them to me, complete and undamaged. I nearly cried right there in the coffee shop. They also insisted on paying me the remaining balance Tyler owed me in full, even though I told them it wasn't necessary. They said it was important to them that their son's debts were paid and that making amends was part of his recovery process. As for my career at the startup, things have been amazing. The company secured another round of funding, and my stock options are actually worth something now. I've been promoted to head of security, managing a small team. The irony that this was the job Tyler always bragged about potentially getting isn't lost on me. I used part of my bonus to put a down payment on a condo. No more roommates for me. I also upgraded my security system. Once bitten, twice shy, I guess. The most surprising development came last month. I received an email from Tyler himself. It was a formal apology letter, part of his 12-step program. He acknowledged everything he'd done, took full responsibility without excuses, and said he didn't expect forgiveness but wanted me to know he understood the harm he'd caused. I sat on that email for a week before responding. Eventually, I wrote back with a brief message thanking him for the apology and wishing him well in his recovery. I don't foresee us ever being friends, but I'm not interested in holding grudges either. Life has a funny way of working out. Tyler's theft and betrayal led me to a better job, a better living situation, and a better understanding of how to protect myself, both physically and financially. I'm more careful now about who I trust, but I'm also more confident in my ability to handle whatever comes my way. So that's where things stand. Tyler is on his own path to recovery, hopefully becoming a better person. Meanwhile, I'm thriving in the life that could have been his if he'd made different choices. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well. And those comic books? They're now displayed in a locked glass case in my new home office. Some things are worth more than money, and I'm glad to have that piece of my dad back where it belongs. The next one is a malicious compliances story. Meetings. Arguably a waste of everyone's time. A worthless imposition upon our finite existence. But doubly so when one works nights. Tonight, gentle readers, I have a small tale of mismanagement and begrudging compliance with absurd requirements. The fallout isn't much, but I consider it a personal win. So it came to pass many, many years ago, when I was still less than a year working nights at this hotel, that the manager called a great and mighty meeting. All hands on deck. A mandatory meeting of great importance, new policies and practices, lunch to be provided, all quite urgent and very, very mandatory. I read the notice and informed the manager that none of the topics to be discussed were anything I had to deal with during the night shift. Maintenance, housekeeping. A night auditor cares not for these things. Could I in fact just skip the whole thing? Nope. Pleased that this would cut into my sleep schedule fell on deaf ears. Even if the meeting was functionally useless to me, it would be seen as unfair if everyone else had to show up, and I didn't. Be there tomorrow at noon or be written up. Fine then. This was before store inventories were easily searched online, so it took a while to make a few calls, but I finally found what I needed, 20 miles away. A quick shopping trip, then after work I went home for a short nap before the meeting. My manager bounced into the meeting ready to dazzle us with whatever speech he had prepared, only to notice all his employees stealing glances at the back corner. There I was. Plaid pajamas, dark blue bathrobe, bed-rumpled hair, dark bags under my eyes. I might have touched them up a little with makeup. And upon my feet were a set of brand new fuzzy bunny slippers that I had dashed to get for this very occasion. The boss sputtered protest, but I pointed out that for me, this was effectively 3 in the morning, so his presentation had better be worth it. Spoilers. It was not worth it. Not one item of the meeting had anything whatsoever to do with what I did during the night shift. None of it. Furthermore, the lunch he'd provided, an admittedly lovely sort of fried rice chicken casserole thing, hit almost all the items on my, admittedly rather long, digestive naughty list. Onions, heavy cheese, jalapenos, and bell peppers with enough fats that my comparatively recent gallbladder removal would have noped out after one bite, so not even the free lunch. As the event wound down, with everyone else eating, I went to my manager, looked him dead in the eyes, more or less, I was tired, and told him exactly what a colossal waste of my time this whole thing had been, and that I would not be attending any further mandatory meetings. If there was something I needed to know, a memo would suffice, thank you. And that was how Squirrel got out of attending meetings forever. There have been other meetings, I have not been invited to attend them. I did attend the manager's going away party, though. That was nice. Teal dear, manager schedules mandatory meeting during my sleeping hours, so I show up in sleepwear. The next one is an entitled parents story. My 24F mother, 65, who adopted me when I was 6 years old, emotionally abused, and neglected me throughout my childhood. Most of my memories are filled with babysitters, while she was living it up, school bullying and therapists, while she refused to believe that any of my problems stemmed from my relationship with her. I've been slowly working through my issues with a therapist, and now live several hours away from her and work a full-time job as a news producer. As my mother has grown older, she's now become a shell of who she used to be. Now she's a hermit, does nothing, loves being the victim, is condescending and judgmental. She has an abundance of loyal friends who think she's a godsend, but all know there's something not quite right about her. On Sunday, I had to call 911 for her because she said she was feeling dizzy and had sweats. After testing at the hospital, they found she had a small ulcer that had caused minor bleeding. I've been in communication with the hospital this entire time. Her best friend of over 36 years, who lives an hour away, was able to drive down to be with her. The ulcer has since been attributed to stress, bad dieting and lack of exercise, etc. Her friends and I have talked to her about this so many times, I don't even bother anymore. Aside from some discomfort, the hospital has her on an IV and will send her home with a prescription after an evaluation. When I spoke to my mother on the phone, she was very frustrated and complained about the situation. She also doesn't seem to understand she's actually improving and said she wished I could be there. Her friend also mentioned that my mother is adamant that she's not going home until she's feeling 100%, even if the doctors tell her she can go home. Feeling 100% is unrealistic, especially at that age. Her friend told me that my mother needs to push herself more instead of just sitting around and waiting to feel 100% better. Her friend's doing as much as she can for my mother, but she can only stay until next Monday, March 10th. My mother is perfectly mobile and aside from this blip, is in much better shape than a lot of people her age. Could she eat better and be more active? Absolutely. If she fails the evaluation, then the hospital can suggest a rehabilitation clinic for her to go to. She also has several neighbors who are more than happy and have helped a great deal since she was put in the hospital. At this point, the only thing holding my mother back, it seems, is being home alone, despite that being something she actually preferred before this incident. Again, her friend is staying until this Sunday, so even if my mother is released tomorrow, her friend will be there for another 4 days, and then my godfather and his friend will come and visit after. Then there's the neighbors who are actively trying to get my mother to reach out to them for help. I have my own serious health problems I'm trying to get under control and already work a high-stress job. The idea of taking time off indefinitely that I don't have to go back home and having to put myself under more stress would crush me. Edit. I want to thank everyone for the amazing and supportive feedback. It means a lot. There's many things I'm still learning to let go of and forgive, but all of your responses have helped so much. I'll pop in an update as soon as I learn more from my mother's evaluation and what the next steps are. A part of me prays that in the morning she'll have a better attitude and will want to do well during the evaluation and go home without any complaints if they release her. But with how things have been going so far, I'm not confident that will happen. Letting her manipulate me isn't an option either, so we'll see. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you